especially, I feel as though, and I might be wrong, but let me put this to you. Since you've announced that you're not running in the next election, do you feel like you've been released a little bit more? Do you feel like you can speak out a little bit more? Because from my perception as an outsider, I feel like you've become more vocal since then. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. I think that yes is the answer. But if you go back and have a look at my career, I have spoken up on many different issues. It's just that this is a rather touchy issue at the moment, and I've got no problems with touching it because it's we need to prick this orthodoxy out there that around this pandemic. So that's why I have done what I've done. Parliamentarians have very little power, right, individually. But what we have the power to do.
People don't understand this.
Try. Yeah. I mean, I get people saying to me, "Oh, why can't you do this? Can't you do that?" And you sort of have to sit down and explain to them. Well, look, that's actually a function of a state government, and even if it was a federal function, well, I need to convince the government, and they're against me. So, nothing I can do here apart from talk. But it sounds like, well, that's nearly nothing. But let's just say that I was part of the movement that shifted the mood. From 2 weeks ago, being condemned by both sides of politics for having a speech that said we need to live with the virus and not in fear of it, to having the Prime Minister saying that in front of all the press. We need to live with the virus, not in fear of it. And I've got to say, I wish I had the verbatim quote, but Anthony Albanese, this is a perler, man. This is a perler. You'd have to look on hands, because he got up and he did this, we're going to condemn him for his speech, and he was sort of doing a retort to a rebut of all of my speech point by point. And he got to that point and he goes, well, I'm scared and Australians are fearful because they're in fear of something that's scary. I think I actually just delivered that section verbatim. So let's analyse that. Let's analyse that. This is a Labor Party approach to COVID. This is a Labor's approach to COVID. Anthony Albanese is scared and the public are fearful because they're fearful of something that's scary. Now, there's a lot of science that's gone into that.
It's been made to be scary by the media, I would argue. But please continue.
True. I mean, there's no science in that statement whatsoever. It is just you're right. It's just based on the fear porn that's been pumped into the public day after day after day. That's still pumped into the public by the media, and it's like the Channel 9 broadcast a few days ago that's gone viral for just how dystopian it is. I mean, you've had Carlson talk about it. You've had Matt Walsh talk about it. You've had
I've seen that.
Who's the other guy? I'm forgetting one of the pundits over there that was talking about it. But anyway, Greenwald, I think he was having a crack at it as well. So we're living in a dystopia.
It's astonishing to find ourselves in a situation being American media as a cautionary tale. We're used to African countries or South American or maybe Central American countries being talked about as these failed states, as these looming dictatorships. And all of a sudden, the American media are talking about us in exactly the same terms. And it's quite extraordinary. Now, I'm sitting here as someone who is attending these supposedly illegal protests in Melbourne. Yes, I'm one of those horrible, awful people. Yes, that's right. I want grandma to die.
According to according to Catherine King in Parliament today, you deliberately spread the virus. You are self-indulgent.
Correct.
You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. For thinking that standing up for freedom is something that's a common good. It's a very selfish thing.
She's got my number. Like when I'm symptomatic with COVID-19, I go around French kissing people because I just want to pass it on, right? That's my ambition in life. So I'm one of those people that actually thinks that our freedom is worth more, that dangerous freedom is worth more than so-called safe. It's not actually safe, but faux safe servitude is actually worth. Now, you stood up in Parliament. I've lost track of time. Is it about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago? And you actually mounted, actually, it might be more recent than that. I think it was more recent than that. And you mounted a defense of people like myself actually attending
Monday
protests. Yeah, I've lost all track of time. Like it's crazy right now.
Yep.
So what brought you to the point? Because that is really countercultural. If we can talk about the culture of politics and the culture of Canberra and the culture within that chamber where you stand, that's really countercultural. And that, to me, takes quite a lot of guts for you to come out and say. So can you talk me through what is your position on these protests without the time limits of Parliament House and whatever else? Can you break down my thoughts, and why are you willing to stand against the zeitgeist and actually defend these irresponsible people like me?
Yeah, well, number one, I've switched off the news.
It's a good start.
I do not watch free-to-air news in my house. It's just, it doesn't come on. In fact, pretty much apart from if I want to stream something from Sky on YouTube, I do not watch news in my house. So number one, turn it off, because for the most part, they're lying. They're lying and they're lying. So I really didn't know what the media are actually saying, apart from, no, that's not true. That's not true. I read it in the papers. I still do read the papers, and I know that there was people there, calling them self-indulgent and all the rest of them. And I know what other politicians were saying that was getting picked up. But I actually watched it myself. And this is the power of social media now. Literally, I can pick up my phone and I'm looking at a live stream of someone who's in that protest, who's filming it and showing me everything that's going on. And I can see, well, hang on a sec, actually, that wasn't the protesters that started that. And that's what I saw. And I think to myself that really the problem is, in Victoria in particular, New South Wales probably also, that police forces are increasingly being politicised. And, I doubt that we would have any commissioner sitting here watching this, or any of the upper echelons of any police force. But if they are, my advice to them is very, very simple. You need to push back. Do not just do what the political masters tell you to do. You are a police force, and just like our defence force, a chief of defence force would walk into a defence minister's office and say, you know what, we're not doing that, minister. We're not doing that. And they do. We've seen that. We've seen that in press conferences even, right? We've seen chief of defence ministers pull their people out of press conferences when they think this is now political. And police services or police forces should be exactly the same. So no. We're here to protect and serve. We are not here to arrest mothers in their own homes in front of children because they posted something on social media. We're not here to arrest kids that just are going down to the beach and aren't causing really a problem at all. But they have just decided they're just going to go ballistic. And my fear, I've been a big supporter of the police. I've had a lot of friends that have become police officers. And now when I look at a police officer, instead of feeling sympathetic, instead of thinking, yep, they're there protecting us, I look at them out of the corner of my eye, thinking, what are you going to do? And if I'm feeling that, how many Australians are feeling that at the moment? We're going to have a total and utter collapse of respect for our police services.
It's already happening. It's already happening. This is what worries me. I made it to 38 years of age before I ever walked out my front door intending to break the law, right? I was raised as a good conservative, good Christian conservative, super obedient. You know, I would have felt good about snitching on other people as a teenager. That was like, honestly, that was me. I'm not necessarily proud of that, but that honest truth, that was me. I would have been that guy who would have dobbed in my next door neighbor back then, right?
Yep.
And I made it to 38 years of age, and then finally, on April 2020, I walked out my front door to go and speak at an illegal protest. I walked out my front door with the intention of breaking the law for the very first time. And this is kind of what concerns me about all of this. We live in a high trust society, and that's a good thing. We have a lot of faith. As much as politicians rank very lowly, when you do a poll about trust, politicians rank very lowly. But your lawyers rank very low. But actually, fundamentally, sorry?
Journalists as well.
Journalists rank very low, and justifiably so. But actually, we enjoy a really high trust society. We actually have a default position where we think people are actually honest, and we think police officers are actually honest. If you tried to bribe your way through a problem in this country, most likely you are going to end up being charged with bribery and attempts to pervert the course of justice, etc. Like, it's most likely to backfire on you. Like, that's an amazing thing. But all of a sudden, we've got a situation where not just me, an enormous number of otherwise law-abiding Australians who have never previously gone out of their door to break the law and now walking out their front door going, I am going to become an outlaw because I believe that my government has actually become the outlaw. They have actually become the lawbreakers. That's a really dangerous place for us to be going.
And it goes back to the ethics of law and order, I guess. And there's an old saying, I'm not going to get it right, but when many people break a law, it's not the people that are bad, it's the law that's bad.
It's the law, yeah.
And a police commissioner should see that. And a police commissioner should walk into the minister's office, the premier's office, and saying, Premier, Minister, I know that this is the law, but I'm calling my men down and women down. We are not enforcing that because it is going to leave a huge divide between the police and the public. But instead, what were they doing? They were out there firing projectiles at people. I never thought I would see the freaking day in Australia that there's a peaceful protest going on, and I was watching it live. They weren't attacking them. They were doing nothing to the police. Someone was pointing out, oh, he's got a gun. What have you got there? What have you got there?
Yeah. So the person who
contacted me, that guy has contacted me. Many people have seen the photo now of the huge bruise that he got from that. I thought it was rubber bullets. Everyone was saying it was rubber bullets. I was wrong. It wasn't rubber bullets. Apparently it was
he's saying it's a beanbag. So you're talking about Matt Lawson, and he's been quite public, so I can say his name publicly because he's been very public about it. Matt Lawson is not one of the bad guys. No, Matt Lawson, I can tell you from the videos and from what he's been posting over a long period of time, and he and I have had a couple of chats over the years, over the year and a half of COVID. He's one of the people who's actually trying to reduce the tension. And he earlier on in that same protest, he was helping a police officer who had been harmed by a protester. Unfortunately, like, we can't control everyone that shows up to a protest. 10,000 people show up to a protest. Some of them are really angry, and some of them are going to do some stupid stuff. And that's unfortunate, and I try to discourage it. Matt tries to discourage it, but unfortunately it does happen. But you can see from his video, he is helping the police. He's talking to the police. He's trying to be like a lubricant to reduce the friction between the protesters and the police. And when he sees the police brandishing these weapons and he goes forward to say, hey, listen, there's kids in the crowd, there's teenagers in the crowd, let's not go there, he becomes the one who gets shot.
Yeah, this is insane stuff. It really is insane stuff. And that's why I got so angry about it. I couldn't give a flying what about what the media say about me, so I'm not running again.
Good.
So
good.
And I'll be honest, that means I got to do a confession. I am probably then a little bit of a political coward, because I wonder whether I'd be saying this stuff if I was running again. Because I know instinctively there's a lot of people out there in the public, including in my electorate, that just want to be wrapped up in cotton wool and kept safe from the big bad coronavirus. And I know that I've had some supporters who have just said, "You've lost me, George. I'm sorry. That's it." And no, I couldn't care less about it, because it's not about getting elected anymore. It's now about the truth and about standing up for what is right. And quite frankly, what is right is people who are out there in the streets peacefully protesting, for the most part, for the restoration of their own liberties and freedoms. People who are saying, no, we should be allowed to walk outside our homes. We should be allowed to go shopping. We should be allowed
to open our businesses. Yeah.
And I just think, how can have I gone to sleep and woken up on a different planet? How is it that 60% or whatever the number might be of my fellow Australians agree with this crap? Like, how is it that there's people in my own political party in Canberra that seemingly agree with this crap? I don't care whether it's a virus, whether it's a terrorist threat, whether it's the Communist Chinese Party descending upon us. Freedom is freedom. What are we fighting for? What are we trying to save if we're going to destroy everything? Like, what are we trying to save? We're going to end up with a whole heap of people living under some authoritarian power, where we don't give a shit about our freedoms as long as you keep us safe from the next thing that comes along. Well, you know what? Bye-bye. I don't want to live like that. I really don't want to live like that.